Hi, Bianca. Wait, what's you stole my outfit?
I mean,
Okay, maybe I stole your
no,
fit. Let's be honest.
but it's like we're twinsies. Duh, can't you tell?
Yeah,
Headphones, shirt. We made this a thing.
I
Um,
actually at one point when I was like working, I was I had a co-founder and we were working together, and we'd show up at the office, every day, the co-working space, and I kid you not, I think it probably happened at least once a week that we wore like the same thing.
mhm.
Like this, and it's like weird how much that happens. And look, Bianca and I are just in the office wearing the same thing, I guess.
A little twin
Wait,
thing.
which side's
I
it on?
will
Oh
say,
yeah, that side.
yeah, I will say we did wear. No, we did that for one of our most recent webinars because I was like, wait, I had the Twilio Dev shirt, and I think you had the Twilio Dev shirt too. So we're getting there. We're getting there, Alex.
Yeah,
We're
I think it
just,
was and then the last one we were both wearing black shirts on a webinar.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Wow.
fits are
Okay.
real.
No, yeah.
Fits are
It's
real.
like I'm like, that's a thing.
Yeah,
How's it going on this bright and awesome Tuesday?
it's good. I'm going on vacation starting next week, and so it's like the last little bit of getting things done, telling people where I need them to do things for me. Um, you know, the wild thing is I'm gonna be in a webinar next week, and I'm gonna be out of town, so I'm just gonna be like, but I'll be there. In theory, they're filmed.
In your heart, you are everywhere.
Well, I mean, I'll be
yeah.
on camera, but it's like pre-recorded.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that'll be a thing. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But that's good. And
That's exciting.
where are you?
I am I'm in a little box, aka hotels. So yeah, so you know me. I'm always just switching it up every now and then.
Yeah.
So I feel like the summertime, like, on the move. So yeah.
I feel that.
But things are
I
solid.
miss those days of summer where it was like different city every week or so.
Also, I feel like summertime things start to like shift, so then you can actually see your people, whether it's like family, friends, things like that. So I feel like summertime for me is like when I feel like I do my family catch ups too. So
Yeah.
that's been cool.
I was like looking, and I'm like, I have like 2 free weekends between now and September. I'm like, oh man, summer's a lot, but it's fun.
Yeah. I was like, when did we get like this as adults? We're like, our weekends are just like super packed. So I'm like, yeah, it's definitely different.
I feel like at some point I saw someone be like, you have this many weekends left in your life. And I'm like, you know what? Not for me. Don't do that. I don't want to hear that.
I'm like, keep that to yourself. Yourself.
Thanks for reminding us, Roberto Bulls, that we're halfway to the holiday season.
No, that is okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're halfway. Oh my gosh, so June. Yeah, this is if I go away and come back, I might float in and out. But yeah, no, halfway through, we're in June, July, August. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a thing.
That's a real amount of time that's happened. What were you up to this last week?
What did I do this last week? Oh my gosh. I almost forgot because life comes at you fast. Okay, so we had a hackathon. So we had the Hackers for Birth Justice last Thursday and Friday. Yeah, so last Thursday and Friday we had Hackers for Birth Justice. It's like the 3rd year in a row that we've done it. And for us, it was a place around discussing issues of maternal health and technology. So it's been really cool to see the progression and just build. I will say it was cool to see kind of just, how it's evolved over the past couple of years. But yeah, we kicked it off on Thursday, and then on Friday, we had folks just building throughout the day. So that was a fun thing that we got to do last week. Yeah.
That event is like, will always hold a special place in my heart because the first time I don't know if it was I think it was the first time we did it. Is this the 3rd? Yeah. Whatever. It was like weeks after I started at Twilio, and I was like, I remember people like, what are you doing at work? Like, you just started. I'm like, honestly, I'm spending like 2 days hacking for like, female maternal justice of like people of color. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. It was a time where we were pregnant with my first daughter. So I was like in the pregnancy world a little bit. And it was just such a cool experience to like be a part of that, hack with these people, um, and build some fun stuff. And it was kind of like the first thing that I really did as a Twillion. And it's just such a cool event. And I'm really grateful that kind of like set the stage for like what I do. I was going back and forth between that and playing Twilio Quest, which is now Council Quest. I don't know. It's not really a Twilio thing anymore. So I was either like doing this hackathon or playing a video game. People were like, what is your new job? What do you
Tell us
do?
more.
I was like, I
Yeah.
just play video games. It's great.
Yeah, I also think like it was pretty cool because you're working with a lot of practitioners. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when it's like technologist to technologist or developer to developer, like you can miss, like for a lot of people, this is the first time that they're pushing technology, right? Like you'll probably even hear it on some of the demos we talk about. But like, yeah, for a lot of folks, they are in these institutions that are like, this is how it's always been done. This is how we're
Yeah.
going to do it. So I do think to be able to infuse possibility or creativity into something like maternal health, I think that was like it was cool. It was cool. And it
Yeah.
also like it's always I feel like you were very much so a part of the like Hackers for Birth Justice fabric in some
Yeah.
ways, right? Because they did like start to recognize you and things like that. So that was good.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
then last year was my favorite webinar I've ever run, was the pre webinar for this event, because it was the first time, like, you do webinars and like people are asking questions and there's like a
Mhm.
little bit of engagement, which is good. It was the first time that the majority of people, and there weren't a lot of, I mean, it was a small webinar. There's like, what, 20 something people there. And like, I had like 8 or 10 people like asking me questions, and like my build, I was doing like a demo with like Twilio Studio, and it started like kind of small. And I was like, okay, there's a start, just like inspire you. And they're like, wait, can we do this? And then like together as a group, we came up
Mhm.
and kept building and building and building and built this like whole thing that people got to see how easy it was to keep adding. It was one of the coolest experiences I had, of just like, it was a lot of people who weren't afraid to just be open and talk and be a part of the thing. And I really, really loved that. If every webinar was like that, I'd be happier.
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about has me thinking about like just even how he builds. I think you can get so jaded, like when you've seen, like, oh, well, this is how we do it, right? Versus someone that's like, I don't know if this can work or not, but can we go down this path or can we try this? And I think what you're speaking to even speaks to that part of just like, you had a lot of folks who weren't jaded, right, with technology, or they
Yeah.
weren't like, oh, this won't work, or I don't think this solution is optimal. So yeah, I think even that
Yeah.
aspect too.
There's also something to like realize, because like a lot of the demos I build are similar, right? They're like, they have the same
Mm-hmm.
structure. I like my go-to demo template um, is Studio that flows into an Airtable backend, and maybe I trigger stuff in
Mm-hmm.
Airtable, or maybe someone. It's like that's what I build. It's just like it's
Yeah.
there and it's super quick and useful. And sometimes I'm like, oh well, I could just do that again, but like whatever, I've done this
Mm-hmm.
already. And then I get people coming being like, truly trying to solve a new problem I never thought about, and realizing like, oh, but it still fits into that same demo. And so I kind of like when it's that the the reason for doing the demo changes, even if like the backbone doesn't. And that's kind of the power of some of the things that we build, which is fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Bianca, I love matching you. It's like a little warm here in Denver. I can't keep this
Okay.
guy up. I'm gonna have to. I'm
That's real.
sorry.
That's real. It was great. It was great
Yeah.
while it lasted. You're like, I'll be an individual. I will
Yeah.
say I
Yeah.
love I'm like AC galore. So I like I always am cold. My mom used to be like, "Is your iron low?" Like all perpetually all the time. So it works. It's fine.
Yeah.
It was great.
My
It was great. It was a great intro.
yeah. I don't know. My AC will hopefully kick back on in a minute. Or maybe it was
That's
just the
real.
fact that I was wearing a sweater for no reason in the middle of summer when it's 90
That's
something
honest.
outside.
That's real. That's honest. That's
Yeah.
honest. I forget, you know. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So what is it? So one of the things that I was just like, oh, we should definitely chat about this, which is like the happy path. I realized that like you like to keep things simple. Like I've just been kind of learning that, I'm realizing. And I don't know. I felt like it's easy to complicate, and yeah. So that was just kind of like an initial thought that kind of came up, which is like this view around the happy path. Um but yeah.
Yeah. It's I actually was thinking about that as well, like because I was like, oh, let's just build the happy path out. I think that's why people are so excited about AI and software development is AI kind of lets you take that happy path and not worry so much about the edge cases, assuming that you can protect your AI enough to like do that. But there's just this idea where like a lot of the AI can take over a lot of the edge cases. Like a lot of the like, oh, I don't quite understand what you're saying. Like back in the day, you had to program everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody misspelled it, you had to like be like, how did you
Yes.
misspell this? You couldn't interpret. And all of a sudden, with some of the AI work, it's like the LLMs can do that for you a little bit, which is super cool. I was actually thinking like exactly about how that happy path is so important, and to like
Mm.
focusing on that kind of like lets you build the beginning of the thing. And I think there's all there, like usually when you're writing software, it's in a team, and like everybody has a different role on a team. And like there's definitely some people who like are building the happy path, and there's some people who are thinking of every single contingency and thing that can go wrong. And you kind of need both.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I like to say I'm the trauma builder. I'm like, well, this and this person will answer like this. And I was like, wow, just get it to work. Just get it to work. And I think when you were building, you were just like, okay, forgetting all the things that will go wrong here, how can this work? And I think we can forget like that core part of like, get it to work. All
Mhm.
these other, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and it bites me sometimes. Sometimes I'll build a happy path and forget about some weird edge case. I did one where I was building something that in theory worked with both um, WhatsApp and regular phone numbers, and for getting messages in, it was fine. But then sending messages is a little bit different with WhatsApp versus a normal phone number. Like you need to put WhatsApp and the number in front. And I didn't do that. So none of my messages got sent to people with WhatsApp. And it's like, okay, I forgot about that thing. Like that's unfortunate. But yeah, a lot of times you build a happy path, you get it done. I mean, that's what I love about writing demos and not production code here at Twilio is it's usually the happy path. And if it's not working because it's a weird path, then no one is relying on my code. Yeah, yeah.
You're
It's a fun
like,
demo.
you're like, people will be fine.
Yeah.
No, that's real. No, yeah. I mean, the other thing too that came to mind was just like even this aspect of like how like what do we need to build, right? So I think about the last two hackers for justice. So one of the things that Alex mentioned earlier was we had this thing called the builder workshop, right? Which is, do you just jump in and build, right? Like what's needed before a build? And like one of the things we kind of saw this time around, we're like, maybe we actually do need those pre-workshop sessions, right? To even just get your brain thinking about, yes, here's the problem, but here's an ideal, here's one version of a solution. And I
Yeah.
think, I don't know, like, yeah, I'm curious to kind of even hear your thoughts around like how that's evolved, like on what somebody needs to build, right?
Yeah. I think there's two sides to that coin. So on one side, and like thinking about the hackathon for birth justice, this event,
Mm-hmm.
if I do a demo, it's really easy for people to come up with an idea that fits into that demo and to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do a demo, people kind of have a blank board to go and be creative with. And I think both things are valuable. And I think there's kind of value on one side. So the real trick is, how do you give enough of a demo that somebody can get started really quickly and just build, but not
Mm-hmm.
so much that it pigeonholes them into building the thing you built?
Mm-hmm.
which I really appreciated that in this round, we had 5 demos. 2 of them were basically the IVR kind of like, studio flows that I would have built.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were using AI for sentiment analysis, and then another one built an app. So
Mm-hmm.
3 of the 5 were demos that were different. And I wonder if we would have gotten that diversity if I had given a demo in advance that people were trying to like fit into. And so it's just that,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of that nature of things. But then there's like other places where this comes into effect too, right? If we're talking to like somebody who's building something in production, let's say, or like at a bigger
Mm-hmm.
company, and a demo might inspire them and see how they can fit that into their
Mm-hmm.
workflow.
Yeah.
And so like a demo there is really important. So I think there's just this balance of like, and the real thing that I think is the metric is how can you inspire the most creativity? How can you inspire people to
Mm,
solve things the most? And sometimes that's showing them what something can do. And other times that's
yeah.
just being like, hey, go ideate and we'll tell you if this is possible. And
Oh my
it's
gosh,
both.
yes. It's so interesting because it's like one of the things that I switched up and did this year was like I sent folks different blog posts. So we didn't do a workshop, but I sent them a few blog posts. And you did have folks that were like, oh, I was inspired by this blog post, right? And I think even this aspect of like, what can you use to spark creativity and what can you use? I think because I think it's easy to be like, oh, I have an idea. But it's like, there's a lot of different ways you can tackle this idea. Everyone at the onset was like, I'm going to build an app. Alex is like, you just need to get a solution. And, I think we can get into step 50, but it's like, do you even have a solution to tackle, the problem? So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
there's one other side of that too, which is when you're, because this is a really unique hackathon where you kind of have, I've noticed kind of 3 different players that come
Mhm.
to this particular hackathon. You have some people who can write code and
Yeah.
developers, different levels of coding, but like they are technical.
Yeah.
You then had practitioners. There was a few groups that had an
Mhm.
MD or
Yeah.
somebody who's like working with these people, and then you had people who had the lived experience. You had people who like were Black women whose pain was discounted when they were going through pregnancy, or who had issues, or maybe they had a great experience and they want to share that. So you have these 3 different, and I noticed it most honestly with the practitioners were like, they don't know what's hard and what's easy when you're like building
Ooh.
something. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's one of the things that I've done with a lot of my friends who are like artists who like want to do
Mhm.
tech stuff or like have like a tech presence, or like other people who are working on their like, they're like entrepreneurs or solopreneurs and they're like doing something. And it's like, what is easy and what is hard for things like getting a website up is easy. Building an app can be really hard unless you use a template and just copy what somebody else does. And so
Mhm.
like there's one group that like had a designer and I'm like, in 24 hours, I'm not sure you're going to be able to get a designer to do this for you. Like you're not going to be able to build out to design.
Yeah.
Like what can you do just to show your idea? Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's a lot of like, hackathons are different, but this is something that you deal with in business in general. And I'm sure anybody who's worked
Mhm.
with like stakeholders across, it's like sometimes people don't know what's easy and what's hard. And
Yeah. I
yeah,
think everyone I think what would start to happen is that people feel like this one thing needs to solve everything rather than understanding even at a company like software is solving specific issues, right? There's a reason why we don't just have one department at
mhm,
Twilio, right? Like there's messaging, there's voice, there's there's a verify. There's so many different layers to solving a comms problem, right? And a data and a customer engagement is so layered. And I think
mhm.
sometimes people can forget like these are building blocks. It's one part of the thing. But I think a lot of times everyone wants to like solve the whole thing in one swoop.
Yeah, and then also everyone wants to solve the whole thing, and like there's not a lot of, not a lot, and also it's going to be different for everybody. I end almost every webinar I give, which is like test everything. Don't listen to me. I probably don't know what I'm talking about. Your business is different than your friend's business is different than your neighbor's business is
Yes.
different than your every other business that you've ever, like, every business is unique, and you need to sit there and take the things that you're learning and apply them to you. And like, that's the challenge. Otherwise this would be easy and everyone would just do it and copy everything else and like, fine. And it's, but like, that idea of like, test everything, don't take my word
Mm-hmm.
for it. Let, like, my goal and my like dream is to like tell stories to inspire people to do stuff. I realize like I can't tell them how to do it because it's going to be different every single time.
Yeah, even that, I mean, even that aspect of testing, like you have to have something out there to test,
Yeah.
right? Like, and you can read all the blog posts in the world, you can like look at all the videos, but the biggest value you're gonna get is from building. It is from literally building the thing,
Yeah.
seeing how it works, like just stress testing it. And like, even as I'm here, I'm talking to you, like that happy path, it's like you can be so focused on like the edge cases and all the ways things can go wrong, but rather than like what does it look like to lean more into this, like you can stress test a thing, but stress testing a thing you need to get out there, right? And I think like, I don't know, last week you like unlocked something for me in my brain, right? Which is like you can show up and be present, and like it was great. Even honestly, even with stream to me was like, I was often the queen of edge cases. I mean, we were talking about something like even in our own work dynamic, right? Around like you had suggested something, I was like, no. But I think I was thinking about all the ways it can go wrong rather than
Mhm.
being like, let me put it out there. And then if it gets too fragile, if it gets too much for me to handle, then we can kind of create more, like we can fortify it. So thinking about how can you fortify what you've built over time rather than being like, these are all the ways it's going to break.
Yeah.
Because things can break, things will break, but like you can kind of fortify. I don't know. I went on my little like la 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 la, but I don't know. Do you get what I'm trying to say in
Yeah,
some
how
way?
do you think that manifests for you in like your life? Because I feel like that's like, yeah, that's a building thing, but like, how do you show up or like take on things? Like, how does that manifest in some specific way there?
I love how I feel like we're getting like so philosophical. But I think for me, it's just like I've started to lean into just like being more present and just like being, like this
Hmm.
aspect of being, rather than kind of like being a spectator or analyzing. Like I can get very like, logic and analytical, and this is how it works and this is how it flows. Yes. But how do you build capacity, and like how do you just like get out there, try things? So I've been finding myself being okay with like what life brings. And if I
Hmm.
need to adjust, I'll adjust. But I've been finding myself doing new things. Like stream is a new thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was a little rocky at first, but finding my dance, I can say now, like, if someone calls me up to be on a stream, I'll be like, yeah, I could do it, right?
Yeah.
Like only if I can kidnap Brent and Alex too.
I
But
know.
um
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like essentially over time I've built, like, yes, a stream can break, stuff can go wrong, but over time we're building capacity, we're learning. And I think I've just been leaning more back into this like learning. I'm in my learning era. um you know so you know we're actual
Yeah.
jokes, but yeah, so
No, I
I guess
mean,
maybe that's how it manifests.
I think that's a good point, and I think like, working here at Twilio, like this video stuff is definitely new to us, and we're getting there. Like
Hmm.
I just started working on like how do you write a video script and like how does that come through, and then how do you edit that, and then record it, and all this stuff, and like that's super fun, and like, yeah, definitely things we're learning, and it's just another medium to like push all the
Hmm.
other stuff because like I do think I'm okay. I think I enjoy storytelling. Like that's something I
Hmm.
enjoy doing, and finding new mediums in which to do that is super fun. But yeah, the going back to like how this all manifests though is I have a tendency to like always want to like solve the problem. Like you're like that happy path sometimes can almost become like manic, where it's like, oh, there's a problem, like, oh, here's the solution, like just do this and it'll be
Yeah.
fine. And sometimes my wife has to slow me down and be like, I don't need a solution right now, let's just like, this is the thing that's happening, let's like talk about feelings.
Alex is like, what? I can build you a flow. I can build you a studio flow to solve all our issues with life.
One of my friends made fun of me because I recently, for my birthday party, had an Airtable form that people filled out to RSVP.
So everything can be solved.
Everything can be solved with Airtable and Twilio Studio. I told you.
So, you did. No, that was so funny. So earlier this week, I think you were having like a rough day. Actually, earlier this week, it was yesterday, damn it. Sorry. I should let you know, Chef Brent, when I'm doing my expletives on stream. But yesterday I felt like, I think, you just it'd been a rough kind of couple of hours, and you're like, I just started to code and then I felt better.
Yeah, my not this night, but the night before, the baby just like woke up and wouldn't go back to sleep. So I was so sleep deprived. And yeah, I literally just like got frustrated with something, spent more time writing code in like an Airtable script to fix it than it would have been to just like do the thing that I needed done. But I'm like, it's just what I needed to do to like relax.
It was just, it was just the process, feeling down, go write some code.
Go write some code. It's a little dopamine. Like you get that dopamine hit of like, I just solved this problem. And it's kind of fun. It's fun. Right. Anybody in chat here use like coding as a dopamine hit?
I love the journey that we go. Last week we were doing product placements. This week we're discussing dopamine hits. Like, let us know how you boost your energy. This is great. This is our
yeah. See, like Chef Brent saying he does stream building and production, not code. Like that's awesome. Like sometimes you just need to like not talk to people and just like do something. What's Roberta will say? Loves taking the tough problems, solving them. It's a roller coaster. Yeah. Like this stuff's fun. And at the end of the day, if you're going to be doing this for a job, like I hope that, doing that. What do we got? Stephen Nick says code and self-hosting tools that break other things around the house. I'm curious what you mean by break things around the house. I've always thought I've like one of my projects has been on a back burner for like 2-3 years now, has been like putting in a whole home automation system. So Steven, I might have to come and pick your brain on that if that's what you're talking about. Because I've always wanted to do that. I feel like the home is the ultimate robot. It's a robot we live inside.
It just until it's like, that's why you gotta be nice to the robots. So they just, they don't.
You gotta be nice to the robots just to be nice, because it's practice. Just be nice to everybody. Robots included.
Yeah.
Why not?
Of course.
I'm serious. Like you think that
I know you are. That's why I'm just like, oh gosh, wow. Am I a mean person? I'm like, just
No, of course not, Bianca. But I think we don't always think about that, where it's like what you do, just it translates and everything bleeds through.
No, that's real. That is very real. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we definitely, for some of y'all who couldn't join the hackathon, I would love to kind of just like show y'all some of the stuff that folks built, or even some of the problems that folks were solving. What we got?
Yeah. Well, before we go, because we've got we've got videos of the 5 teams that gave demos. They're a little over 5 minutes each. What was the like? What's the word I'm looking for? Like, what was the like? Hey, this is the goal. Like, what was the the hackathon? Like, what you're building or why you're building it, and or what were they being judged on?
I think for this hackathon specifically, it was around the topic of maternal health, but I think we wanted folks to build something that was like culturally sensitive. So I think especially for this topic, it often impacts a lot of, women of color, a lot of Black women. So part of the kind of the build was like, how would this be relevant to a particular audience? And then also a Black woman that's just given birth, even understanding someone who is recently pregnant, like their brain is all over the place. They're tending to a human. So we had cultural relevance. We wanted to make sure folks were engaging with like emerging technologies, you know, things like AI or other tools, right? So it's like, how do we go beyond just like a messaging app? And then the other thing too is just like, do we feel like this had an impact, right? Like, could this drive, yeah, like, could this drive impact in a particular area? And I often struggle with sometimes with the whole impacts piece because I'm just like, you know, building something that's just solid for other human beings shouldn't always be like, this is impacts. But you know, I think those were kind of some of the key areas, which is like, you know, how are you using emerging technologies? Is this culturally relevant? And kind of the impact it would have around this like topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think impact too, it's like, I think we sometimes when we think about impacts, think about like hundreds of thousands or millions of people it's impacting. But like there's a lot of value in impacting just a few people, like thousands
Yeah.
or tens of like that's still valuable. So I hear you on that impact piece, but I think like it's got to help somebody.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
hope.
And also, yeah. And
Yeah.
even with like the healthcare system, one of the things I think that, you know, when you're in this like tech bubble, you can forget that like just a little thing, a little bit of tech has moved the needle so much, right? We saw this with like Rely Health, right? And like just you know, just getting someone to call someone back and
Yeah.
like, you know, some an employee not having to be on the line, like just triaging, right, is having a huge impact, right? So I do think forgetting that like impact can be less about like, oh, we did good in the world, but more so like, no, this had an impact on like the infrastructure or an industry, and how they do work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. So is there anything else you want to say, or do you want to just like queue up the first? I know you wanted to talk about like the tech people are using, or is there anything else you want to talk about before we jump into videos?
No, we can jump into videos, and
Okay.
as we're going
Yeah.
through, we'll have
Cool.
side comments, and also we welcome just your side comments too if you're
Yeah.
seeing anything, how you would build a solution to some of these things. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So we'll
let's do
start
it.
with our first one, which is MVP, but spelled like EMVP.
Oh yes,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Let's do it.
roll that tape, Chef Brent.
So I am excited to present with Leah on behalf of Team 2. Our proposed solution is entitled Empowered Voice in Pregnancy, or MVP for short, because every pregnancy is valuable. And our team members were Jelena Walker, who is a community midwife in the Las Vegas area, Leah Casada, who you'll hear from shortly, who's a software engineer, and then myself, I work as faculty at UCSF, and specifically as a maternal fetal medicine specialist. So I'll turn it over to Leah to walk us through our problem.
So yesterday's presentation was really shocking. It was disheartening to hear about the disconnect between Black mothers, Black women, and adequate healthcare. So you can read this prompt about a little bit more in depth about what the problem that we'd like to address in our app is. Or actually, I'll just read it. So our problem that we're addressing is people with the capacity for pregnancy, particularly Black women, are far too often disempowered from achieving the pregnancy outcomes they deserve because of lack of equitable education and care before and during their reproductive lifespan, resulting in avertible maternal and neonatal morbidity and mortality. So the solution is an app. We were thinking of leveraging AI to make the app very welcoming for users, and they would input their information, and we would return a report or further resources to help educate the patient and advocate for themselves when they return to their healthcare provider. This app supports them, in understanding critical aspects of their health.
Sorry, my neighborhood is noisy. So One of the things that we wanted to sort of put forward is some of the language and how we will propose the users be able to navigate the app. And so on the landing page, I think we want to make sure that patients know that we're really, or users, I should say, know that the goal is really to like optimize their outcomes, and that we welcome people to use the app even before they become pregnant, or if they're looking to support others in their pregnancy journey, but make it very clear that the goal is not to like actually provide direct medical advice or replace services from a healthcare professional. And on the homepage, we sort of envision different threads or arcs that users will have kind of in the app. So one, as a MFM, I love seeing people preconception. I think there's a lot that can be done to empower people to have better outcomes, to know what to ask their primary care provider for, things that they could do to optimize their health. And so people who are thinking about becoming pregnant, those who are pregnant, those who might be recently postpartum, people who are just there to learn. And then we also want to have a space for people who need help advocating for themselves in that moment, with tools and resources about even strategies. Some people might be familiar with a tool called the Brain Talk tool, but giving people things that they can use in their clinical encounters to feel more supported. And this is an example of a page. If the user were to click that they are pregnant, is recognizing that every pregnancy is unique. And one of the things that would be really helpful is getting curated information about the user so that we can help them get focused recommendations based on comorbidities that they might be entering the pregnancy with, their prior obstetric history, but recognizing that everybody might not want to put that information in an app. So we'll give people different options. And please keep me aware of the time, because I realize I'm not checking. The goal will be to get information from patients about how they're doing in that moment. And one of the things that we talked about in our group is that one of the we do want to be able to check in also on patients or individuals, users, emotional and mental state as they're navigating the app, and sort of offer resources, including mindfulness resources in the process, but to also check in on specific updates since they last used the app, about diagnosis or care that they've received, and curated sort of symptoms and vitals checks. So if they're in the first trimester as compared to the third trimester of postpartum, there are different symptoms that would be important to draw out from users to be able to then give them advice about next steps. And then, of course, health history is very important for us to be able to offer curated information about medications or things that they should be on or be offered, considered, resource assessment, so that we could offer connections to external resources like findhelp.org if needed, and then to think about their care team, and to use the platform or the app to actually be able to invite community or support members to kind of learn alongside them about things that are going on in their pregnancy. And one of the big things that we're hoping for is to also help use information that they're putting into the app to communicate back with their clinicians. And so we envision that the MVP will also have like a place for those who desire to kind of have like a playbook or things that that will have resources. Urgent sort of plays would be things of like, if they input a blood pressure that's very elevated, to talk about next steps, about calling their healthcare provider, about recognizing that this might be a complication, what complications might come up, and to be aware of the tests or things that might be offered, or if not offered, that they should be asking for. And then videos, podcasts, a clinical recap, which would be, we envision medicalese, but sort of sharing out that information that we collect in a user-friendly way from the app to a healthcare provider, including recommendations and references to guidelines to support those recommendations, and then other resources like where they could find a doula, example, frontline doulas, or that sort of thing. Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot I muted myself, or maybe I didn't. I don't remember. Don't hit those buttons. Thanks, producer Chef Brent. That
Producer
was like
Chef.
such a cool example of how they were like thinking holistically about all the stuff that they needed, which is like a pro and a con. I think that in a hackathon, when you try to do too much, it's like, okay, but like I love the idea. These things are all needed. I actually got the chance to talk to this team specifically and talk to, I think, was her name Martha, the one who presented?
Yep. And that was I think that was the MD.
She was an MD, so she's maternal fetal medicine, so like high risk stuff. But she does a program that we actually participated in here in Denver called Centering Pregnancy, where like instead of your normal prenatal visits with like a midwife or an OB-GYN, you get together in a small group. I think ours had 4 to 6 other women or families creating or with pregnant families with us, and it would be like a 2-hour long or an hour or two that we would all like be there. I went to like about half of them. My wife obviously went to all of them, and just like get to ask questions, and people would ask each other questions, and you'd hear questions from other people. And that was this thing where we got so much more hands-on experience. But if you were just going to your provider and you saw them for like 10 minutes every week or two, you wouldn't feel like you're doing all these things and prepared.
I mean, I think that's the tough part, which is like technology trying to fill in so many of these gaps, right? Because when I'm looking at the build that they created, it almost felt like, oh, you're trying to substitute for the lack of a human being that would run someone through this journey. Like typically, maybe they would have had like a community center or X, Y, or Z. And I think like that to me is just like the gap when it's like, is technology trying to make up too much for a lack of public services or things that would be there, within these other systems? And it's like when you're putting so much pressure on the tech to be like, hey, to be the everything, like I think that to me is like a signal of like, we might need more hires, or we might need some like systemic changes to these spaces. But I mean, when I looked at that, it was very much so like, for them, it was like tech as a person who's walking with me on a journey.
Yes.
I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about this, and this isn't the point of us having this, but like how I would have gone about that or like thought about that if I was just do one thing.
I actually welcome that. And I also welcome chat. Like that actually is part of what I want this talk back to be, which is like, how would you approach this, right? Like, how would you approach this build if you were also thinking about it? So we do welcome it.
One specific thing that they mentioned that I think was different, because they talked about podcasts and content and all this stuff. And there was one which was like, almost like translating into clinician. And this might've been from when I talked to them, where it's like, how do you like translate to clinical speak to know the questions to ask? Some like simple, cool thing would have been like, throughout a week or 2 weeks, maybe there's a phone number that you can call and you can just like record a voice memo being like, hey, I'm wondering about this thing. I don't understand this. I'm feeling this way. What's going on? And it'd be really, or like you had an app you could type it in or text into, and then it would pull that all in, synthesize through that in AI, and try to turn it into like, hey, here's the questions that you need to go ask your provider. Because AI is pretty good at speaking doctor, because there's enough doctor stuff that they pulled in. So like you could have just found that one thing. I think like you were saying it earlier, you try to like solve for everything, but what's like the one thing that you can do right now that's going to make a difference? Because we would do that. Like my wife and I would do that during pregnancy, which is before every visit, we would get a list of questions that we had, because we were like, we wanted to make sure that we got our question answered. We do that now with our pediatrician, not as much anymore, because now that she's 1.5 years, it's a little bit, she just runs into things and bounces back up. But when she couldn't move without it, it was a little different. So like, I think there probably could have been a little bit more focus, and maybe, if I had spent more time with them to do that, got them to focus on like one thing. But I think that like yeah, anyone going through a hackathon, just find that one thing you're going to do and like make it, like just do that. And like this was such a cool idea. I think it's needed. I think some of the stuff is missing, but like it was so much. And we saw that like they had some sketches, but they didn't really have a demo. You're muted, Bianca. Now it's you.
I'm the problem. Oh gosh, I know. We're probably stressing
quick, though.
Stressing the chef. Yeah, it's yeah, I think they were like up against time. Like that's the other piece too, which is like I think they were trying to they're just trying to do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like some I don't remember, it was like this guy I used to work with who, this is a weird tangent. This guy I used to work with, he was one of the most bizarre people that I ever worked with, and like had an impact on me because like when it was my first job, and he was like one of the kind of like a little bit of a mentor figure. But he would do this thing where he would read the first chapter of a book and he would do an iteration, and make it shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point where he would take entire first chapters of books and turn them into like 3 sentences. And it's this weird thing. And he had this quote where it's like, sorry, I didn't have time to write you a short and concise email. To be short and concise and to do something targeted sometimes takes more time than to just like have a whole bunch of stuff and throw it out there and not whittle it down. But like, yeah, that's a little bit of a challenge. And I think that, you know, it was all good.
Even just like the energy of just like prioritization, like really having to prioritize. And I think that's where people get stuck, right? They're like, we need to tackle all the things. And it's like, no, can you distill this into a smaller problem? And I think the word momentum, I used to kind of hate that word a little bit more. It is a strong word. Alex is like, you hate the words, but like momentum. I think there would be some folks that I felt like they would just jump into things mindlessly. So I don't like that side of the pendulum. But you also gotta get.
You also can like you can also like plan yourself into oblivion and never actually do something. There's like that fine balance. How do you know when there's enough? There was one team who I think is coming up later, and they on the first day stayed until we literally closed down the Zoom meeting because they were just like planning. I'm like, I think you guys got it. I think you're good.
Let's get this moving.
Yeah. I do want to highlight, I really appreciate this from Steven. All my nieces and nephews use their head to find their way around for the first 2 years. I never got used to that. Yeah, our daughter's a little bit cautious, but we definitely have a friend who's got a baby that's like a few months older, and they're like, I went over to their house at one point and they were like, yep, Asher just got another bloody nose from just face planting. I'm like,
oh my gosh. I'm thinking about, so last week, like my niece, she's like, oh, hey auntie Bianca. And she's like, she goes to the window. I was like, brother, the window is open. The child is about to jump out the window. She was like, look at outside. We're getting, I was like, but she was just like, I don't care. And then there was one day, he like showed me a video of her just like jumping off of the, like they were just exploring their ability to fly. And I don't understand the toddler logic. Logic is just, I have questions.
It's different. And there's definitely something that happens sometime in their second year of life. So between turning 1 and 2, where they like stop, like you stop worrying about them like trying to injure themselves. Like they will, they're still going to fall. But at some point they're like, oh, that's probably not a good idea. To some stuff, not everything. But yeah, anyways, children are wild.
They are. Yep. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any other thoughts or comments? Anyone in chat have any thoughts or comments about that last demo? Or Bianca, you have anything?
No, nothing. We can run it to the.
I will say this might have been my favorite name.
MVP.
I really like the empowered like MVP. I think that's just a clever play on words. I'm always down with a good like, what is this I don't even know what it's called, but it's not quite a pun, but it's punny.
Yeah, because they were like everyone. Like
every pregnancy is important. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I like that. That was cool.
Yeah. Although this next one does have a good name too.
It is. Yeah, a lot of them. That was like y'all are pretty. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
The next one we're going to hear from is Forward Birth Solutions, but the number 4 WRD. Maybe it's 4-wheel drive birth solutions.
Of course.
Yeah.
Duh. You know,
Yeah.
just I'm just gonna call it like our sponsorship counter. So now we can say like we can do a car. Remember that
We're
time where
sponsored
we
by
were
4-wheel drive. That's like a little bit.
remember when we referenced 4-wheel drive? Yeah. It's just, it's, new revenue drivers. But yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's next
Next demo. Let's get that up there. Roll it, Chef Brent. Maybe.
All right. I don't know. Maybe
sponsored by
maybe
Subaru.
Maybe
Yeah. You know what? Chef Brent did tell us that at some point he has a new piece of tech coming and he'd have to step away to answer his door. So maybe that's what happened now.
Yep.
And
exact timing.
Did I get it? Oh, yeah. I knew what was happening.
I had it perfect. I was like out the door, grabbed the package, set it down, and as I was closing the door to come back and push the button for the next thing, because I knew that you were like right on it, I was like, he goes, wait. I had to sign for it. He couldn't override it, so like I had to step back. So yeah, of course.
That's
perfect perfect timing. It almost worked out perfectly. I was like, they need to get to the next clip. They need to get to the next clip. They need to get to because I could hear the guy walking up, and I'm like, they're not gonna get there. I'm gonna try to get it real quick, and then that didn't happen. So it is what it is.
You know what? Both Bianca and I, if it's a vamp and cover for each other, it only makes sense that at some point we're gonna have to vamp and cover for the chef himself.
So true.
Yeah.
It works. But yeah, you ready now? Should we roll it?
Yeah.
Let's roll Forward Birth Solutions.
Yeah, let's go.
We are Forward Birth Solutions. This name derived from a team of 4. We were originally a team of 3. My name is Lauren Newman. I am a design and communications manager with PTBi. We have Kendi Mendoza, who is our PTBi fellow and student. Andrea Messias, our developer, and it was really just us 3. She added in her wonderful husband, David Rosa, who's also a developer. We're going to start with the problem. So our problem is the Black maternal health crisis. Black women in the United States are 3 to 4 more times likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. And the rate of late maternal deaths among Black women is more than 3 times that of other racial groups. Also, Black moms and families are fearful of hospital settings and providers based on a history of being unheard and unseen, which has led to preventable pregnancy complications and death. I was going to walk you through all of our ideas, but we have 5 minutes, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you the idea that we ended up going with. We went with the problem statement of under respectful care, and our idea was to develop an app where patients can leave reviews on the provider and the care they received. This info will be sent to the provider and additional resources will be sent to the patient. So the idea is imagine an app where you can text a number and leave a review for your provider based on your service and quality of care. Your provider will be notified when you leave a review. Information will be plugged into a form or a spreadsheet. And let's say you send a negative review to your provider, they will get a link to anti-racism training resources that they can utilize for future dealings with their patients. And if the patient leaves a negative review, they will receive a follow-up message with resources on how to proceed. And with that said, we did have some complications earlier with our demo, but I got word from Andrea that they got it working. So Andrea, are you ready to take over?
I'm ready.
Okay, do I need to stop sharing or?
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Okay, so can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep.
We are gonna demo what we built. We use Twilio, it's called programmable voice recordings, and also DeepGram AI, which is a tool that transcribes and also analyzes the general sentiment of the call. So I'm gonna demo for you.
This call will be recorded and analyzed for settlement. Unfortunately, my experience was quite disappointing. I have to wait for over an hour. I felt like I was not being heard, and my concerns weren't taken seriously. And I tried to explain my symptoms, but they seemed impatient and dismissive, and I left with more questions than answers. So we should see the sentiment analysis working in a second. Okay, so we got it there. And you can see it's like super negative. It will evaluate from 0 to 1. And this is like beyond 0. So we think that with this tool, there's two values on it. That this is data that is very valuable to see, like for demographics, if certain groups are feeling like the services are dissatisfying for them. But also we can do some automation to immediately send a response, an SMS message to the person that left a negative review with resources, and just to help them feel like they are being heard and that they have options. And, just this is something that I think it's just very valuable, even just like words of encouragement and some resources. So yeah, this is just a demo, but I think it can grow into an app where both the providers, managers, and also patients have access to it, and it can become more complex. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Are we at time? I don't have a time check.
Sorry, you still had I wish there was actually a timer in Zoom, but they don't have one. I'll give y'all 2 minutes to finish
Okay.
up your presentation.
Great. So, I mean, we know who our target audience is. We have our Black mamas, birthing people, birth advocates, providers, and families. This app, our ideal client will gain more confidence at doctor's visits, and this app will assist in fighting against the Black maternal health crisis. If we were to market this, of course, social media is a great tool, but ideally we would love to see this being marketed in clinics and in partnerships with other organizations that are providing resources to Black families. Measuring our success, the community and Black mamas, birthing people, and providers would be aware of the Forward Birth Solutions app. The outcome of this app is reflected in a decrease of the current Black maternal mortality rate, and Black mamas and birthing people feel safe, seen, and heard. I hope I wasn't talking too fast, but thanks for listening. That is Forward Birth Solutions.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I will say I unmuted myself. I love this. I was just like, and ready. No, that was Forward Birthing Solutions. I will say it is so wild hearing oneself. I was like, that's me.
Yeah, I thought that would be a funny little thing because I knew you pop into some of these videos and I'm like, oh, it's Bianca twice.
Yeah,
Which
I was like,
Bianca from
like-
the past or Bianca in the present?
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. So this one, it was so chaotic until like the final minute.
I know. I was helping them with some of the debugging at the last minute, and I was like, "This is a lot." But
Yeah,
I put the blog post, by the way, that they used for their tech build in the chat. So if anyone's curious about that, it's a pretty cool post.
No, it was so funny because even with the team, they were like, they literally got it to work like right as they were about to demo. So I was like, the timing was pretty good. But I think the thing about this one that stuck out to me was just like with the sentiment analysis, yes, right now, like being able to see like, oh, this is red, this is code like this is red. If someone's like, this was horrible and everything is horrible. And I think what would actually be interesting is over time seeing kind of for the folks that continue to leave like horrible, like, okay, if I'm going back into like the issue at large, right, which is like there are so many deaths, right, unfortunately, within this space, is there that correlation between the continued negative experiences and the sentiment, that person that's like, hey, I'm having this issue, you're not hearing me, like would that person end up, months later or a year later passing from complications. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I think what's interesting to me is just like, can we kind of nip things before they become larger things?
Yeah.
And that to me is just kind of what stuck out with this one.
The thing that I liked about this is, first of all, they had a working tech demo, which is super cool.
Yeah.
The key to it wasn't like, there was something about this that was different, which is what they do with the data, which wasn't just like, oh, give somebody something else. It's like, no, you send that provider information about anti-racism training. Like it was, oh, there's actually something that we can do that we might be empowered to do on the other side of this app. Or let's say it was like a part of a group, some other medical group, to like actually go and make a change with the people who are causing the problem. And that to me was the big thing where I was like, oh, that's cool. Because then you're actually attacking the source of this. And, who knows if it would make a difference? Who knows if people would be like more resentful or actually pay attention? But like, you got to try. You got to try to talk to the people.
Even the other part, they're clear to me. I always like to say the data is information, and maybe there's a disconnect. What if like that person's having a negative experience due to language barrier, right? So maybe you might need more translators, or maybe for some folks, like their negative experience is due to like the amount of time that they're getting. And I think the data to me can start a conversation. And I think that like, I've been thinking a lot about this, right? In the land of KPIs, OKRs, all that stuff, like data to me should start a conversation. It should not be where one stops. So like, yes, someone could be like, you're horrible and all your services you're the worst doctor ever. But like, what makes you the worst doctor ever, right? Is it that you're not hearing them? Is it that they still feel like they're in pain? Are they feeling like my appointments are too short? Like what is the data telling you? And I think to me, this was like, that to me is just where like the tech builds can go into this like, okay, well, what next? We've
I think there's also something else that like, because all this stuff is very real and people are seeing like 20 plus patients a day. Like they don't have like a lot of providers don't have time, and it sucks because everyone feels that benefit everyone feels that crunch, and some people more than others for sure. But like sometimes it's just like they don't have the ability to sit down and stop and talk to people. And there's the other side of like, maybe that person doesn't have the same network to ask questions to and things like that. My wife's in like the women's health space. Like she's a nurse practitioner, and like sometimes we'll have friends or friends of friends be like, I just need somebody else to talk to about this. I don't have enough time with my people. Like, can you talk to me? And she'll do that because she loves it. But it's like, there's a lot there, but you're right. It's like, how do you start that conversation? And maybe this is the kind of thing where this can help inspire change, right? Like if you have enough negative reviews or like enough negative feedback, can a hospital start to say, oh, this is because we have people seeing one or two too many people a day. Like let's lighten the load and maybe people will be happier. Maybe they won't care. I don't know. Hospitals are hard, but like, I think that there's a lot that can happen here.
Yeah. It also to me is just like, when I think about these comms tools, good. I feel like you would probably think that omnichannel is my favorite word, but I do think
because it's a great word, Bianca.
Omnichannel.
We need omnichannel t-shirts.
We do. Oh, don't give me ideas.
I have multiple talks on omnichannel.
It's a good solid topic. I mean, what comes up with that, which is like, you go to a hospital, they'll send you a survey, but it's like, I'm already irritated. I don't care to talk to you about as you're asking me to pay this bill for having a child, right? Like, so I do think even the aspects of like, what are some of the different channels you can get a holistic data set? To me, I feel like, there are these kind of different avenues, right? So to me, it's just like voice is another tool. And I think leveraging voice plus to get that data Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that like with some of the AI stuff, you can kind of start to get data without having to like rely on people to put it in as much is pretty cool too. So
Yeah.
it was really cool to see DeepGram working in this way.
Mhm.
And I know we had another team. Was it the next one that did?
I
Was
think
it
it is. I think it
Okay.
was.
So yeah, we had another team that used, so this one used DeepGram AI with some Twilio stuff based on a blog post. Um, I think it's the next one. I hope it's the next one. Otherwise, I'm setting this up wrong. But I think
Oh,
the
good.
next one, yeah, I think the next one used something called Hume AI to also analyze sentiment, which is super cool. But yeah, I love that idea that like, hey, let's take these things that are like AI, these tech tools, and like allow us to understand humans better. Like that's such a cool idea.
Mm-hmm. I like that kind of, yeah, kind of understanding each other better, not from a space of like, let me serve you more ads on pregnancy, but like, no, like let me help make your experience better, right? So I do think like, yeah, insights for the sake of, yeah, better experiences was like sounds a bit like what we do out here.
Yes, it does.
I was like, I know a little company. It's so funny because I was like, oh yeah, it does make sense. Okay, so over to you.
Yeah.
Our invisible but not really invisible producer.
And I'm pretty sure I just checked. I think I set the right one up. So yeah, this next one also does some sort of sentiment analysis with a different AI tool called Hume, which is spelled HUME.ai.
Yes. All
And
right.
these guys also have a fun name because these names are all great. And we're about to see hear from BTS.
Okay, hello everybody. We are Team BTS and we have a presentation for you guys. We will be sharing this and then getting into more about the app itself. Let me know. Sorry, I want to make sure that y'all can hear the sound too. Can you hear the sound?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamisha Wade. I am a mom to a 3-year-old named Journey, and boy, can I tell you, my postpartum journey was nothing short of a journey itself. From experiencing loneliness to needing support and not always wanting to turn to my family because I always felt like a burden, to just needing food and resources and help all the time. I'm excited to introduce Sisters, an app designed to support Black mothers just like me. It offers a safe space for emotional well-being with AI-driven support and a nurturing community. My hope for Sisters is that this sister becomes your trusted companion, providing the support and resources you need during
Hi, this is a journal entry showing that we can record.
Yes, so that was our presentation. That was the application name is Sisters. This is a AI-driven technology for mothers who are experiencing any type of postpartum who need help, who just had their babies. They can go into the app and they can let the AI know daily how they're feeling. They can through voice journaling. And with that, the AI is able to analyze that data. And if you score a certain level, then AI will automatically reach out to somebody who you onboarded as your beloved support person, and it will reach out to them and just say, hey, this person needs some help. If you get up to another certain level, it'll reach out to your trusted team of care providers, and it'll say, hey, this person is experiencing X, Y, and Z. And then also that helps to the data bank, because oftentimes there isn't research done for Black mothers, right? They don't have the research around postpartum, right? So this helps add to that as well. And then, if somebody is having suicidal ideologies and all of those things, then at that point, emergency services will be contacted. With that, AI is able to track your voice sentiment. So if I was able to go into the app every single day and journal how I'm doing, and I went in and just and I was passive with AI, it would be able to track that. So that would be the cool thing about our application. And I know that we wanted to have Yusuf talk some more about the back end.
Yeah, we ran into a snag. Not gonna lie to y'all, not gonna hold you. So we don't have the full end-to-end experience, but I wanted to show you so you can kind of imagine. It's very similar. It's actually great that we came right after the previous team, because I think our solutions are very, very similar. This is just another tool, so I just wanted to introduce them to you as well. So I think the other team was using DeepGram AI, but this other tool is Hume AI. So you can go ahead and check out their website at any point. Feel free to look into it. I didn't know about them until yesterday. So as you can tell, things are developing very quickly, but it's all the same idea: sentiment analysis. They can do textual analysis. So if you do journal entries by way of writing, they can also take a look and analyze that, but they can also do voice. And what I thought was really cool is they give you a lot of the data. So I thought I'd just look at what that looks like. I did a quick recording just to test them out. And so we were going to do the end-to-end experience where you would see one of our recordings on here as well. But you can see that it's able to understand that through the course of the recording, that there was a sense of surprise at the beginning, but then it ends with some sort of realization. And here I was talking about some random things, but it was able to really gauge to some degree that there's something going on in your voice. And so if you collect enough of those data points, you can start to piece together as a care team whether something needs an intervention. And then obviously you can fluctuate and go from there as needed. The cool thing is at the end is you get all of these data points as raw data. They kind of decided to do a visualization here, but you do get them as raw data. So in the back end, what we were going to do is use that information to send using a Twilio API. So you can do programmable calling if you want, programmable messaging, all that jazz. You can quickly just integrate end to end. But the really meat and potatoes of it is that just the mere fact of sharing how you're feeling and someone being able to collect and keep an eye on that for you and reach out for you when you're in need or when you're feeling too stressed to do so on your own is really cool. And then that I think we talked a little bit about the tier support. So we have the people that you go at tier 1, tier 2, and beyond, whatever that looks like for your care team.
All right, we're at time. We're at time. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, to keep you in there at the end, Bianca. We're at time. Can you do that again? Can you do that for us again?
We're at time. We're at.
We're not at time though. We have plenty of time left
We
on the
have
screen.
plenty of time. Don't leave. So many different.
Yeah. I like this idea a lot, and I don't want to. There was one thing that stressed me out about this though, which is the video they played had too much silence on stream, and that's the number one rule. Don't have silence on stream, and we had a lot of silence on stream. So I apologize if anybody felt that, but I love this idea, and I love the name of like Sistas as the app, and like give yourselves a little bit of a companion. Chef Brent agrees with me. Yeah, felt the same. I was like, do I need to start talking in the middle of their demo? But I love this idea of like give someone to talk to that feels accessible and easy, because like after you have a baby, you need support. Like you need support, and you need to like help identify those support people. And sometimes if we're not used to asking for support, right? Like there's that whole thing, it takes a village, is like a saying, and like we don't have villages the same way we used to. And so if there's some way to make it easier to like feel like you have a little support just by having those conversations, and then take it a step further and be like, oh, this person actually needs help. We know who to go call. Let's go call them. I think that it's such an important niche to fill, of like helping people have that village.
I think a few things that came out for this demo for me is, one was like, people wouldn't care if the AI is relevant to them. So even the fact that like essentially what she was saying is having like a culturally relevant bot in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Like and so I think that was one piece, which is like, I think people will be okay, right? Like if they are talking to AI, but if AI is the only person they're talking to, I think that's where there becomes a disconnect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that was one piece. The other thing that actually stood out to me is this ability to have it triage, and what was the other thing that I wrote? Triggers, like kind of having it trigger these other things, like, wow, you've been very moody these past couple of days. Trigger this. Hey, I feel like we kind of do it in our own personal lives. Like I could tell when I'm getting hangry, I'm like, it's time. Like my trigger is my hand on Uber Eats, or like I have like fast meals, depending on where I'm at. Like I know my triggers that like are telling me do this, right? And I think to have that within the system, that it's like, if you're continuously journaling like, hey, food, or hey, I need a little extra support. Like, who are the 3 people on your contact list? Like, can we like information plus triggers, and like, what can we do with that? So yeah, that was something that kind of stuck out to me.
Using technology to build human relationships is such a cool idea. And we all like, there's so much talk about like, oh, AI girlfriends and boyfriends, and like AI partners, and like how like AI is going to replace humans. But like, this is an example of using AI to bridge the gap to people. And I think that that's really, really important. And I think without that bridge of the gap to people, it was just like, oh, we're going to like give people a voice thing, and then it's going to like maybe suggest some stuff. It's like, there's something missing, but they included that human piece. They included the like, and let's let this be a way for you to engage with people better. So I think that's cool.
That's interesting, because I think so many things started to do that. And then I think about an app like Calendly. Like Calendly then ended up becoming this like, there's Calendly etiquette. And it's like, essentially, we're just trying to be like, your calendar, my calendar. When are you free for us to meet? And it just became this like huge ego war. But I'm like, essentially a lot of these tools were to kind of start the conversation. I think the issue is that we've become so dependent. We've allowed these tools to like substitute the whole conversation, right? Like if someone's like, hey, can I meet with you for a meeting? Always sending them a Calendly. I don't know, every now and then just be like, hey, I'm free on this date. Like,
it does sometimes feel like a bit of a power move. And I do it to like, when a startup wants to talk to me, I send them a Calendly, because like I need to do that for work, and like but there's also another part of me where it's like, I could have this conversation, or you could literally send me a single link that I can then use to go and figure it out for myself. It's like a little empowering too. So it's both. I feel you. I appreciate Toe Frogs dropping that AI is the new sriracha. Yeah, just drizzle it on everything. But this is a cool use case where like there's tech and you're using AI to bridge into humans. So like I do think that like that's where it's that augmentation. AI as replacement feels like a little bit glib, but like AI as augmentation. And this is clearly an augmentation thing, like, bridging those gaps. I appreciated that a lot.
I like that too. It was good. It was good. It was good.
Yeah, and then there's just also the other side of just like purely like demo process. Like explain if you're ever giving a demo, anybody here, and I know there's some people who are like do this professionally, so they know, but like talk through what you're doing. Like don't just show pictures, like have people voice out the interaction that you're having. The more that you can hit people on different channels, even omni-channel, the more you can make it omni-channel, right? Make it heard, make it seen. If you can get some sort of like a rumbling chair, right? Like you can get like a vibrating chair, the 4D experience, right? No, but like make it multidimensional, make it auditory and visual. When you just have one or the other, it can be I think that they're like, you don't get the full effect. So like if I were to coach these guys and just giving a good demo, I would have said, do that video, and as it's happening, talk through what's going on. Tell us what's happening. Explain it. I think it would have been so much more powerful.
Yeah, it was so funny because I was like, I think being able to share a compelling message in like 5 minutes, everyone was so stressed. I was like, you don't need more than 5 minutes to tell me. Like the demo should speak for itself. So I think like being able to like consolidate, simplify. Is that our theme for today? Just simplify the things. That was pretty. That was a learning for sure. Let's see. Okay, so what would you add on? What would you like? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. What would be? Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have a working demo, but I've even just seeing the bones of a demo being like, hey, this is the tool we would use for voice analysis. And like, they kind of had it a little bit there in a nice format. I think that that's really neat. And I think they did a great job there. Sometimes you don't need it working in a hackathon, and it's okay to like show that it could work a little bit and show what it can do. So like, I appreciate them taking those steps and presenting anyways. There's some groups that like felt like they didn't, if you don't have a demo, they're not going to present. And I like that they presented and it was a valuable thing. So I like that from a standpoint. And again, just like use AI as a tool, don't use AI for the sake of using AI. And that's what this felt like, which is good.
You don't want to just add sriracha to broccoli?
You can. I mean, if you're into that, you can also just make delicious broccoli.
Oh.
Right? Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My, I'll be honest, my sriracha for points is nutritional yeast. I enjoy the taste. I like that little bit of Parmesan thing. Sorry, we're getting into food again. But like, that's the one where I'm like, especially broccoli, I'll just dump a bunch of that stuff on. It's great. But like, yeah, you can either add sriracha or make something that tastes good.
A concept.
Yeah.
Is that that's going to be a new talk. Sriracha or just make it taste good.
No, but like that is kind of a thing. Like if you like go somewhere and like just like need to dump a bunch of hot sauce on something, are you enjoying the food or are you enjoying the hot sauce?
Wow.
And those are both valid things to enjoy, but like
deep questions.
Yeah.
Wow.
I appreciate nice restaurants that don't put salt and pepper on the table because they season it properly.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, I might have poked the chef.
I mean,
but anyways,
I was like, what you got, chef?
We'll do it. Maybe we'll have it on a different stream. Let's save that for a different day. We're gonna have a talk about saucing. And it'll get saucy, I'm sure.
The sauce. This is where my New York accent. I was like the saucing, the hot sauce. But yeah, this is where I was just like, wow, I am definitely a New Yorker.
The hot sauce.
Hot sauce.
All right, let's keep cruising. We've got another demo for you. So this next demo is Village Team. Did these next two demos both build IVRs? Is that what I'm remembering properly?
This one did. This one had one.
I think the last one did too.
This one had an IVR solution. I think they so the funny thing was like Alex was like, enough is enough, people. I need you to just build. I think everyone was getting complicated. Alex was like, hi, go here, start here. Here are some solutions. And I think the beautiful thing is like tools like Twilio can make it very easy to just start. If nothing else, I feel like that should be Twilio's also its slogan. Just start, please.
Just start building.
Just start building. We
Yeah.
have the tools to help you start building. Just start.
Yeah.
And I feel like that IVR push was like they were going through the like, oh, we don't know what to build and like all these things. And then Alex was just like, please, just
do this one thing. Yeah. Yeah. And we had them build voice IVRs because then they didn't have to deal with 10 DLC. But yeah, so this next one we're about to show you is the village team, because we all know it takes a village. And yeah, let's see what they got.
All right. Again, everyone, good afternoon. My name is Monica. I am one of 2 developers on Village, the other being Cynthia, developer and pre-med student in the East Coast. And we are joined by Nora, a UX designer based in the Bay Area. So our problem statement, our prototype addresses the issue that pregnant Black and brown women often lack a safe and supportive space during this time. This can lead to feelings of isolation and inadequate access to necessary healthcare info and emotional support. On the flip side, it also seeks, our prototype also seeks to tackle the knowledge gap in culturally informed resources to improve care for Black and brown mothers and their newborns. And I'll be handing it off to Cynthia to explain this slide.
Okay, so one of the first things we did was look at what questions clinicians and parents have. And one resource we found was on the preterm birth website from UCSF. And there was a list of questions that a group at the hospital came up with. This is just a part of them, but we wanted to have a place for us to provide answers to these. So our app wants to organize these questions in an easily digestible way for clinicians, providers, anyone who is taking care of Black mothers. Next slide.
All right, so our solution is the Village app. The name Village is inspired by the phrase, it takes a village, right? And while that is usually for, usually refers to raising children, we believe it also could represent the support and empowerment that pregnant women need. So just as it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to nurture and support expectant mothers as well. So Village is a platform where pregnant Black and brown women can connect with their fellow pregnant women and healthcare providers. So on one side of the app, it is very much a community support where pregnant women can share their lived experiences and bridge the knowledge gap through, again, other people's experiences with their healthcare providers, as well as also have healthcare providers in the app be allowed to be members so that they can provide clinical and medical insight. And then the impact that we hope to have by creating a community-based network is to increase access to quality healthcare, enhance emotional well-being, and also enhance clinician knowledge, again, through the sharing of lived experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Cynthia.
Oh, sorry. So basically for this app, we have 2 sides, one for patients, mothers, and another for clinicians. We wanted some level of interaction. So it's basically up to mothers to decide if they want their posts to be visible, and clinicians can use the app to read up on medical knowledge. We wanted to use AI in this scenario to recommend resources as opposed to recommending medical advice to patients. And we wanted to provide research papers and different organizations that providers can use to make medical decisions for their patients.
All right, and to walk you through the posting app of the piece will be our designer, Nora.
Yes, of course. Hi. So what we were thinking was to allow the user, in this case, the mother, posting whether she wants the post to be seen, one, by a health provider, or if she wants to add a picture, if there's some type of incident that happened that she wants to show in her post, as well as what kind of post that she was looking to do. So she's looking to vent, or she's looking for advice, or any type of medical assistance that she will want. And then she will just go ahead and choose her options, post, and just see her village popping up and answering her question, and just support in general. So next slide. Here we have a little bit of a demo of each page and screen of what the app does. So here we have where the user, in this case, the patient, will be adding their information. On the flip side, for a provider, it would have been a doctor, and it would have been the person adding where they work and what they do specifically. And on the right side, we see the screen explain a bit how the post works and what kind of information do you need for the person to be able to add more information. So this was a very quick design that I had to make in like 2 hours. So I'm really hoping that we were able to like portray a lot of what our idea was, but it's almost like a group chat, but almost a mix of social media, but also for providers and Black and Brown mothers. Yeah, so the next slide. Yeah. Here we see a bit of the chat. So we see the post and the answers on the post, so people were able to react to the post, whether they love it or not, if they have encountered the same thing. In this case, there is someone, a Black mother, who went to a hospital and was not really receiving the kind of treatment, good treatment that she deserves. And she is posting about what she want to do. So yeah, I know we are time right now. So this kind of goes a bit around what the app will do. And on the right side, we have a clinical library for the clinicians. And yeah, next slide is our last. Next slide. And if we had a bit more time, we would have been able to integrate a bit more added language support, education and resource library, increasing communication between health providers and health professionals, as well as EHR integration. But thank you so much.
Sweet. This one wasn't an IVR, but that's great. There's something that I was like watching this and I was at first skeptical and then got it, which is how do you get providers to participate in this? But they're like, oh, it's because we have other tools and resources for providers. So they want to be there, right? So it's almost like providing those other resources is how you get providers to show up, because otherwise they're not going to. But if you can provide those resources, great. And I just love this community element of like, it's either you want advice or you just want to vent. I often ask my wife that, are you wanting advice or do you just want to vent? And I'm getting better at figuring it out.
Sorry, I was just like, oh, the producer tools. Sorry. It was like in my face. But no, yeah, I love the whole like choose your own adventure along this pathway. I feel like I really enjoyed that one with this presentation. And also just like you said, I think social media has died down as a solution, right? But this is still
it's too toxic, or it has the potential to be toxic.
Yeah. And I think it also becomes like promo central. Everyone's like, download my mixtape and like come to my party. And it's like, no.
Do you have a mixtape, Bianca?
No.
Oh,
just random jingles that I sing on stream.
One day someone will go back and find all these videos and pull all the Bianca singing and turn them into full-fledged songs. And the Bianca will have dropped an album without even dropping an album.
Wow.
But anyways,
you know what? Yeah. Sorry. I was just
yeah. I just threw your train of thought. I apologize. But yeah, it's that and the two-sidedness of it. And I don't even know if they needed to do to have the providers. I think that like that's a good stretch goal, and like down the road that would be useful, or like, there's probably some sort of like play with like, can you anonymize and use people's data in a certain way that's like productive, like, oh, see what people's experiences are like. But just like having a place to vent and talk that feels safe is really important. And I think that like that is not social media. Social media is not a place to vent and talk and feel safe
Yeah.
anymore.
I like that, but like vent, feel safe. But if we need resources, we know where to.
It's
pull
there
them,
too.
right?
Yeah. It'll find the resources.
And I think that to me is just like a nice kind of creating a nice like ecosystem of sorts. No pun intended. So I do think like
nice village, if you will.
Oh, see what they did there. So yeah, no, this one was solid. Okay, the other one was the IVR one.
Yes, the last one that we have is the IVR. I helped this team a lot. It was really fun to work with them. They were like, we want to build this IVR thing. And I was like, great, here's all my blog posts. Let me know how I can help you. So I got to help them build this and help them see it through to fruition. And it was super cool to do that. And I'm really, it was really fun to see this one. This was postpartum peer support is the last one we're going to hear from today, who did build an IVR using Twilio Studio, and they didn't quite get to the Airtable piece, but it was there for them to think about
if they needed. All right, over to you.
So our project and team is the postpartum peer support. We ended up building an interactive voice response system. My name is Lauren Lucero. I am the software developer for this team. I am a software developer in general, but have been job seeking for a long time. So open to opportunities, shameless plug, but also in that time I've decided to like pursue other things, and have been doing prenatal yoga teaching. And I'm also in the process of doula training, exploring other opportunities during this time, as well as still seeing how I can use software to help with birthing justice. So this hackathon was awesome, and our photos, it was Kalia and I in the Zoom room all day today. Kalia, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
So my name is Kalia Graham, and I live in Florida. I'm a peer support coach for Our Roots, and I am also working on my master's in social work. What I do at Peer Roots is work with pregnant and postpartum moms to help try to prevent postpartum depression and anxiety. And we do weekly check-ins with our clients through Zoom, and basically just provide, like a coaching session. So with that in mind, we created the postpartum peer support IVR. And the aim is to help improve outcomes for Black moms and birthing parents by preventing or treating postpartum mood disorders through daily check-ins and peer support. So the idea would be like a client who is already signed up with, a peer support coach. The daily check-ins and peer support have been shown to improve birth outcomes by providing timely emotional support, identifying mood changes early, and offering immediate resources or connections to peer support coaches.
So I'm hoping you all can hear our demo.
Thank you for calling in right now. Peer support phone service. You'll receive daily calls from us to check in on your well-being. Based on your response, you'll get self-care tips or be connected to a peer support coach. Please listen to the rating scale and enter the number that best matches how you feel today. Press 5 if you're feeling great today. Press 4 if you're doing well today. Press 3 if you're doing okay but things could be better. Press 2 if today has been hard. Press 1 if you're having a hard time today and need support from a peer coach. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. Would you like to speak with a peer support coach? Press 1 to connect immediately, or say leave a message to schedule a peer support call for later.
This is Julia, your peer support coach. How can I support you today? And then that would be an example of like if they called and they wanted to be connected to a peer support coach. And then we're going to just give you guys one more example.
I think for time, Kalia, maybe we can just talk through that one.
Okay, so another option if they were doing okay, but they wanted to still receive resources, we would have the IVR give them options for like journaling, and that would include like journal prompts. The IVR could walk them through a guided meditation session and also give suggestions for like going to take a walk or doing some yoga, different like physical activities that they could use to kind of lift their mood.
Yeah, so we, again, initially wanted to make a chat bot, but due to like messaging, we decided to go with the voice version. And again, right now it can connect to a peer support coach if that is, you know, where you are at that day, or we also have in some random self-care tips if you know, they're feeling okay. It's still important to keep those things at top of mind. Another aspect of the like 1 through 5 rating is to be able to collect a data point that again, it's hard. And the purpose also, so on that initial call, the person calls in, but then after the fact, it would make a phone call or send a text message every day. Because it's hard to just remember to check in with how you're doing. And that's often how like depression and mood disorders sneak up on us, is like, you don't realize how bad things have gotten. So yeah, if we had more time, we would want to personalize the intake, because we know that mood disorders can happen through all perinatal phases, provide language preferences, make it more flexible, either phone call, text, or an app. And as I was saying, save the mood ratings and voicemails so that the peer support coaches could review them and collect feedback on the resources so that we could improve those over time. But it was fun playing with Twilio and learning from Kalia.
Y'all, oh my gosh, Alex.
Silence.
Okay, I know we're at time almost, but like I didn't realize this whole time that our chef Brent has amazing production tools, because when you're on mute, it's spread across the bar, and I did not realize that was what was happening.
Oh yeah,
I know.
Anyways, that was, I actually really like that demo, and they did a good job of just like getting something out. But what they were talking about, I almost want to go build it at one point, because I think that there's a fun app in there where it's like your daily check-in, and it's like, hey, go take a walk, or do you want a meditation? We'll do it right now. And so it's, I think that they had the bones of like a really good self-care app, but I love that they then hooked it up to like, and maybe you need support right now and we can do that, which is another feature of Studio. You can like connect calls, which is so cool. So this was one of my personal favorites, maybe because I helped them build a lot of it. But like, this is something that like maybe I want to build, or maybe we want to build on stream one day, is something that like, is this like personal support app that calls you at a random time every day. And like, if you don't pick up the phone, tries again. And maybe if it's after a few days you don't pick up the phone, there's some other way that they can try to get in touch with you. But like,
I mean, I kind of do that. I am the app. Sometimes, right? Like sometimes I have this running joke with a good friend of mine. I was like, if I don't hear back from you within a course of a week, I'm doing my wellness check. I was like, I start with my text, and if you don't respond to my text, I do a wellness call. But we have this running joke that I was like,
Omni-channel Bianca.
Yeah. So it's like 7 days.
Yeah.
But I do like this aspect of like, what does your care journey need to look like? And for me, my care journey might be like, remind me to like call my mom or remind
Yeah.
me to do certain things. But like, I actually do like this idea of like your own personal like care IVR, which is like the things that you love to do. It just reminding you to kind of do them rather than
Yeah.
just kind of like the like a typical app or something.
Yeah. I remember at one point I even built like a demo app. It's actually the GitHub that I do an Airtable thing, but like it's like habit tracker. Like, did you do that thing today?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
could
How
see
was
that.
it? So yeah, there's a lot there, but I don't, Bianca, I was not there. Who did the judges pick as the winner and why?
So they picked BTS. BTS was the one that used Hume. I think
Okay.
for them, BTS hit all the different aspects in a way that they felt like, for them, for the most part, like they felt like it was culturally relevant. It tackled the issue. It would make an impact with like certain providers.
Yeah.
And I think for them, they felt like the one that BTS would have been one that like highlighted a lot of the different pieces, and also something that they could easily in some ways like go to market, like just plug into a hospital system or something
Yeah.
like that. So I know that was really resonant for folks. And then the runner up was the one that did the sentiment analysis of just like the voice. So that was the runner up. But
They really
everyone,
liked the voice AI stuff.
oh my gosh, yes, they were enjoying that. And I think with all of them, it was just like one of the attendees made a comment and he was just like, what's been cool to watch this year is just like how much that maternal health was adopting AI. And I think for me, it was exciting to see that because I'm like, AI is something that certain folks feel like, oh, I should be very afraid of this, but you can feel empowered by new technologies. And I think to me, it was a space that folks were able to like build so they can have their own perspective and feel empowered on the solutions that they wanted to create. So but yeah, it was solid. And also as always, like, Alex has been like a super supportive person, right? Like for for this initiative. So I think being able to see something over the years and like empowering people to build, like that was super dope.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's fun. I love this particular event. And yeah, they're all winners because they all tried to build something and did. Everyone built something that's really relevant and applicable. And I'm glad that we have this stream so we can build stuff too because it's fun.
I mean, I think I'm just gonna start a stream campaign to just like, we're gonna throw out some prompts and just have like folks on stream, just like, we're gonna build it. What did you build? So I think that could be a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, definitely. People, let us know if you want to see more of these builds. I love seeing those. I'm so glad we got to go talk through all these demos. Gave me so many ideas. I'm gonna have to go put some stuff into our stream ideas doc about like, oh, maybe we build that self-care app one day.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And thank you everybody for joining us. Any last thoughts, Bianca? I'm gonna be out for the next couple weeks, so I'll see you guys again in I think 3 weeks. But I'm about to go take a lovely trip with my family to Europe. Gonna take our daughter international for the first time. I'm very excited.
No, yeah, and we'll still be on. We'll let you know.
Yes.
We'll have some surprises for you on the.
I'm excited to see what you come up with. I might have to join. There's no, I can still watch the stream on vacation.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll still have folks over the next couple of weeks. So still join us. Tuesdays 2 p.m. EST. Even though we might not always be on EST, but just still join us 2 p.m. EST on stream. As always, thanks for hanging with us. But yeah, we'll see you next week Tuesdays. But
we'll leave you with we have something exciting coming up. The quarterly launch release is coming up, and here's a little promo. If you want to learn more about what's happening at Twilio and what we're launching, this is the place to be. So we'll take it out with that.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Steph.
Have you heard
about the latest Twilio release webinar on June 27th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, where we'll share a ton of new and exciting announcements on the future of customer engagement?
I'll take that as a yes.
It's not just a yes, I'm hyped.
As you should be. There's a lot happening at Twilio, and the Twilio Release webinar series is a great way to learn how we're helping businesses reach the right customers at the right time.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to show off some of our new capabilities and how they help remove friction, reduce fraud, and grow customer trust, like AI-powered transcriptions and proactive fraud alerts, and
Whoa, slow down. Let's maintain some level of suspense here.
Fine.
Mark your calendar for June 27th and join us.
I'll be there.
You better.